Okay, today we will talk about the third phase, which is called post-interaction. In the post-interaction, this is the stage which talks about what is going to happen by us as a sales team after the sales was closed off. But in order to finalize this business transaction, we should also address some of the techniques, some of the styles by which we can undermine or decrease the level of the anxiety or the level of the fear, where in the heart and in the mind of our prospects. So all the time remember, we have a term which is called LSCPA, which means first and always we should listen more than talk as salespersons. Therefore, all the times give the chance for the prospects or the customer to speak up about what they need, what they require, their fears, their problems, and so on. Listening, we decided to take the first letter, which is called L.
Yes.
Later on, we are going to go to something called sharing. We talk or we abbreviate it by depending on one letter, which is called S. Share means concerns without judgment. In other words, don't make any judgments about your prospects. If they are nagging persons, if they are annoying ones, and so on. Listen and share their feelings, their experiences, and their demands and wants in a very patient and cooperative way. A third technique we should clarify. The word clarify means any question which might be raised by the customers, you as a salesperson, you must be able to respond this question. If we will respond to this question, this means we are clarifying facts. For who? For the customers. And a third one, problem solve, which means we have to present options and solutions. Remember, we didn't say here one problem or one solution or one model. In other words, we are talking about a set of alternatives. Or the alternative which is classified or evaluated to be the best one should be decided by the customer rather than by us as a salesperson. So here we are playing the role of the advisor rather than the decision maker. Finally, we should conclude by something called ask for action, which means to determine the commitment. When we are saying ask for action, it means anything which we are going to promise our customer that we are going to do for his own interest, it must be fulfilled and it must be done on the ground. So in other words, we have to talk or we have to walk the talk. What we are talking about, it must be executed. So by all these things, we are referring to a term which is called LSCPA. Well, these are techniques by which we can handle the concern or the anxiety in the heart and in the mind of our prospects. Any question, any comments about this? Any question, any comments? Move on. Let's now go to the final thing, which is the closing skills. Closing occurs when a salesperson asks for a commitment from the customer. A commitment to do what? A commitment that me as a prospect, I demanded or I wanted this product or service. And also, I have a commitment to pay all my financial obligations, which were this service or that product. Where we are going to focus on the three major things: when to close, trial closes, and buying signals. Well, listen here. When to close, this is something considered to be the most difficult thing when in the sales transaction. Well, somebody is going to say, why we are saying when to close is something which is very difficult. Two major issues. Number one, all the time remember, our salespersons, they are reluctant, which means they are hesitant. They cannot take appropriate decisions. Well, number two, they are suffering from fear of rejection. Well, somebody is going to say, why they are going to be afraid of being rejected? All the time remember, if the prospect didn't get enough information or data or answers about his or her questions, they are not going to approve or accept your offer. So, our salespersons, they are reluctant because they prefer that the first step of closing a business transaction, it must be expressed by the prospect rather than by us as salespersons. So they will be reluctant, they will be hesitant. We are watching and supervising and waiting for the correct signals. If the correct signals show up, then we will offer our own transaction. But if the signals were not appreciated or perceived by us in a correct way, we will remain reluctant. Somebody from you might ask, are we talking about reluctance which are felt by new salespersons? Also, we are talking about reluctance which might be felt by salespersons who are having a long experience. In other words, reluctance is considered to be a natural feeling in the heart of the experts and the non-experts from salespeople. Okay? Move on. Closing techniques. How we are going to close any business transaction. Let's summarize them. Number one, all the time the salespersons must be direct and they must be honest. In other words, ask for the order in the straightforward manner. Don't be manipulative. What's the meaning of manipulative? Exactly. Don't be manipulative. In other words, all the things which you would like to say, they must be said in a very frank and direct way. Or don't adopt something called zigzagging approach. Zigzagging, متعرج, ملتوي. Be frank. Be clear. Third, all the time, try to summarize. Summarize what? The benefits which will be taken or got by our prospect if he bought a service or a product. A third, single objection. What's the meaning of a single objection? Single resistance. اعتراض أحادي أخير. All the time remember. اعتراض. All the times remember. We should overcome. If you do not like fighting objection, we can look at the word obstacle. It is the same. All the time remember. All obstacles and objections, they should be removed from the path of conducting the transaction. But how we are going to remove them? By giving enough information for any question raised by the prospect. Or give him or her any insurance, any evidences, any demonstrable lessons by which we will assure them that anything might happen, we will overcome it and we are responsible for it. A fourth thing, assumption. In other words, assume readiness to buy and focus on the transaction details. The word assumption here, it refers to a stage where we as a salesperson, we will assume that everything now is ready for conducting and finalizing what? The closed business transaction. To close business transaction. Finally, we will talk about something called a choice. When the choice, we are focusing on the version to be ordered. Somebody is going to say, what's the meaning of the word version? For example, if you would like to buy a book, every book has its own versions. Version of 2002, for example, 4, 6, 7, 9, 11, and so on. The same thing with any product and the same thing with any service. All the products, they have versions. Well, this is reminding us with the truth which we said about the products. Every product has its own life cycle. So this life cycle, it is going to go through stages. It is going to be developed. It is going to be enhanced. With every enhancement stage, it is expressed by a version. It is expressed by a type or a kind of version. So these are briefly the major selling techniques by which we can close any business transaction. Any question, any comments about this? Okay. Let's conclude and talking about something which is very important. Well, this thing is the following. We will talk about something called how we are going to support the buying decision. Or in other words, post interaction, please skill. Or phase skill. The post interaction phase skills, it means we are talking about skills which are required to reinforce the decision of buying. In other words, we are talking about skills which we must use to make the customers not feeling regret that they bought our product or service. Clear? Well, these techniques are for beginning from support the buying decision. After a while, we are going to provide you with lessons about how we are going to support the buying decision. Second, manage the implementation. Third, deal with the dissatisfaction. And fourth, enhance the relationship. So these are briefly the major methods by which we can enhance and support the decision buying. Well, let's begin with the pillars. What's the meaning of the word pillar? Ways. And sometimes we are calling it or naming it to be strategies. The pillars of sales support. Listen here. So technique number one, what did we name it? Support the buying decision. How? Number one, we have to reduce the buyer anxiety and worry. How? By answering any question or concern that might be raised by the prospect. Another technique, we have to make a follow-up call. Well, let's give an example. Imagine Haneen, she is going to buy, for example, from us a laptop or a car or whatever. Well, after 4 or 5 days, we give her a phone call. Why? We are asking her, how are you, Miss Haneen? And how was the product which you purchased from us? If her response is okay, then she is going to tell us okay. If not, she will tell us not. But this isn't my concern now in this example. My concern is the following. How our message is going to be reflected on the heart of this prospect after we closed a business transaction and after we cashed the price. And in spite of this, after 3 or 4 days, we gave her a phone call to be sure that everything is okay. The impression is going to be excellent. Yes. Why? This prospect is going to say, this company isn't opportunist. مش انتهازية. In other words, they cashed the money after I bought this product from them. When in spite of this, they are trying to be sure that everything is okay regarding this product. So this is going to leave us a very psychological support, which will be transmitted or felt in the heart and in the mind by our customer. Third technique, ask for feedback. Ask this prospect about anything related to this product or service. How is it? Are you facing problems or troubles in installing, in using, in consuming it? Do you need any feedback? Do you need assistance? Do you need spare parts? All these things. So this feedback is considered to be a third technique by which we can support the buying decision. Let's talk about the second method. The second method is means manage the implementation. Or manage the implementation means we have to walk our talk. In other words, we have to execute anything which we might promise our prospects to do or to offer. So what we are saying and talking about, it must be executed and translated into realistic actions on the ground. Therefore, we have to assist or approval process, introduce support resources, monitor and report progress. Well, let's give example for this. Introduce support resources. Imagine our prospect or customer would like to have more information. Would like to get assistance regarding ideas, regarding anything which is related to the technicalities of this product or service. Here, did or should we provide him with this required information or data or ideas? Of course. A second thing, assist regarding the approval or the withdrawal of the process. Remember here, all the time, if we would like to assist or approve the process, some concerns might be raised by the prospects. In other words, he might decide to phone or call us. So if he's going to phone or call us, we are going to look at the monitor of our cell phone and we are going to see or diagnose his name. What is the appropriate behavior which we should do in this situation? We should open and respond. even if he's going to call us through a telephone, or even he is going to visit our company and visit you as a salesperson in your office, we shouldn't decline his request to communicate or talk with you. If you declined his offer, معناته you are avoiding or escaping from him or her. Why? Because you bought and you cashed. طب is this appropriate behavior in the sales science? Why? Because we are talking and emphasizing this fact, which is we have to develop long-term relationship with our customers and not be satisfied by one single incidence of sales. Let's go to the third method, which is called deal with dissatisfaction. Or this dissatisfaction might happen by many students, especially after they are going to get their points in the midterms. Is this a natural thing? It's a natural thing. What should we do? What should we deal with it? Or how can we deal with it? You have to deal with it as a natural thing. It isn't the end of our life. The same thing here. We have to deal with any dissatisfaction which might be encountered by any of our prospects. In other words, empathize with the buyer, which means we have to sympathize with our buyer. Yes. Second, respond to problems, use objection bending techniques. When we are saying respond, معناته if our prospect or customer tried to communicate with you, you must be ready and available all the times. Or don't avoid or neglecting him or her. Third, anticipate past concerns and expectation. What's the meaning of anticipate? Expect in advance. Or finally, reinforce the benefits. All these are techniques by which we can deal with any dissatisfaction. The final pair, we would like to talk about how we will enhance our relationship. Number one, be available. I am here if you, or I am here if you need me. When we are saying I am here, be persistent, be existent. Or don't hide behind the scene, especially if you are demanded or required by this customer. Second, arrange continual personal communication. Third, maintain quality of product and services. Fourth, provide ongoing updates and progress reports. Fifth, be a resource for info or help or ideas. Finally, grow the business internally. Or finally, ask for referrals. What's the meaning of ask for referrals? Don't flatter yourself or flatter your company. What's the meaning of flatter? Praise. No. It is equivalent to the word praise. What's the meaning of praise? يمدح. Don't flatter your company or praise yourself. But leave the flattering or the praising thing for a customer who already dealt with you. Because by this thing, this statement, what's the meaning of statement? هذه الإفادة will be objective and neutral. Why? Because it is coming from a third party. Yes. Not coming from you as a sales company. Not coming from you as a sales company. Or finally, grow the business internally. Well, this is an ideology, which means if your customer will grow in his own business, for sure your sales for him or her will grow as well. The vice versa is correct. Finally, as for reference, we talked about it. So these are the major techniques by which we can enhance our relationship with our own customers. Let's conclude by these things. Ways that might anger customers. When we are going to identify and talk about the ways to anger customer, this means we have to avoid them. The anger of the customer can be caused by what? Number one, constant selling. Which means if Fatma is considered to be our customer, it isn't acceptable, it isn't appropriate to call her every single hour or to call her every single day, asking her or telling her or informing her about any sales offer which we might have as a company. Yes. Is this acceptable behavior? It isn't acceptable. Why? Because we will be seen as pushy sales persons. What's the meaning of pushy? Exactly, ضاغطين. What did we say? Remember, the sales transaction might be happened or might be conducted under the atmosphere of silence. Somebody is going to say, what is the meaning of atmosphere of silence? Atmosphere where you as a salesperson must be away from the prospect so that the prospect can think deeply and quietly about your offer. So don't be available in the scene. We are going to leave for him or her our contact information. If he or she decided to buy from us, that's nice. If not, not. This is the life. So once again, we should not be pushy. So don't phone every single day or every single hour offering this prospect or talking about your offered sales. This isn't acceptable behavior. Will it cause a kind of anger in the heart and in the mind of the salesperson? Of course. Why? Because you will be seen as a nagging salesperson. Nagging people are not welcomed. Nagging people are not liked. Nagging people are not appreciated by others. Second, neglecting customer problems. If the customer complained about any problem, about an issue regarding the product or the service, you should be available and sit beside him or her. But if he tried to reach you and you were avoiding them, it means we are trying to escape from them. Or this is going to cause what? The anger of the customer. A third source, talking too much. In other words, you are talking more than you are listening to them. Is this a problem? It's a problem. Is it causing anger? It is causing anger. So it is preferred to listen more than talk. Fourth, stretching the truth. In other words, we will continue talking about the benefits of the product or the service all the times. Is this correct? It isn't. So what should we do? We should believe in this Arabic proverb which is saying, خير الكلام ما قل. That's it. Finally, we will talk about no thanks yous. In other words, if you finished a meeting with the prospect or if you finished a phone conversation with them, all the time remember to thank them. If you are not going to thank them, you will be seen as impolite salesperson. Is this a cause or a source of anger? Yes, it is a source of anger. So these are briefly the major sources by which we can create or increase the level of anger in the heart of our own customers. And all the times we should be careful regarding these sources. And we should not fall in the trap. Yes. Any question, any comments about this? Okay. We talk about the customer interaction and the practices. I think this is the end of chapter number 5. Before we will conclude, give me a chance to talk about something important also. Now, we will talk about new techniques by which we can ensure that we will increase the level of closing a business transaction successfully. What are these techniques? Number 1, read. Alternative choice. Well, number 2, we are talking about what? Decision choice. Regarding the alternative choice, remember, we are going to provide you with 2 scenarios or 2 examples. Imagine we are going to go and visit Sakka electrical store. Imagine we would like to buy LCD. Scenario number 1 or scenario number 2. In scenario number 1, the salesperson is going to provide us with variety of colors and models of LCD or LCDs, including Toshiba, Samsung, LG, Sony, and so on. All these are models. In second scenario, the salesperson told you sadly, "Wallah sir or madam, we do not have only one model," which is, for example, LG. Now let's evaluate the 2 scenarios. What is the probability that a business transaction will be conducted successfully in scenario number 1 in comparison with scenario number 2? The probability here, it might exceed more than 80%. But here, it might not exceed more than 20%. مظبوط؟ So this is considered to be one of the secrets by which we can conduct a sales transaction successfully. Technique number 2, decision choice, which means if we would like to conduct the business transaction successfully, we said don't be pushy, where your role must be only advisor. Talk about the specification of the products or the models, or give them information as much as you can, but don't exercise any kind of pressure regarding any specific decision making. You are just advisor. Well, second thing, you should prepare simultaneously with something which is called action plan. Somebody is going to say, what's the meaning of action plan? If you felt that your prospect is about to take a decision or to buy a product, directly and in the spot, during the same time, ask the customer to provide you with his address. With the address, it refers to the place of his home or house. Well, second, ask him about the time when he is going to be available. Why? To tell the customer that we are ready to send and install this product at his home or at his store or at his company. So the place and the time means we are talking about action plan, which was confirmed by the prospect or the customer. But how do we know? Because he already agreed to provide you with this information. But if the prospect or the customer told you, well, I am apologizing, or I'm not going to give you the address of my company or house, this means we till now didn't finalize a business transaction successfully. Clear? So let's sum up. So 2 techniques by which we can exceed the probability of constructing a sales transaction successfully. Number 1, alternative choice, which means if your company is going to provide its own prospects or customers with a variety of models and colors, this is going to increase the probability of successful sales transaction. Or the vice versa is correct. A second technique, decision choice. In other words, your role as a salesperson is just advisor rather than decision maker. Also, while you are talking, and you should seize the time. In other words, you should elicit information about the address where you can send this product or this service to the customer's house, company, etc. So the place and the time information is related to something called action plan, which should be used at the same situation without wasting any time. Any question, any comments about this? Any question or comments? Now, by this we are saying bye-bye for chapter number 5. Inshallah, next Wednesday we are going to start with the new chapter, which is chapter number 6. Any question, any comments about chapter number 5? Any question, any comments about the midterm exam? Go on, I am listening. Any question, any objections, any concerns, any anxiety? Go on. Thank you very much. See you.